Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Interjections podcast, subtitled The Undiscovered Decade. This is a podcast where we talk about some hidden gems that came out 30 years ago. Right now, we're in March 1995, so we're pretty deep into the decade. We have a first-time event again. A couple months ago, we did a horror film, and I've seen the trend that we're going through this year is kind of like thrillers and horrors, a little more than we usually do, but we had never done a Stephen King adaptation. As we have done in the past, I have us look at a spinner wheel to choose who's going to discuss the actual movie. So obviously you've noticed that Jimmy is not here again 2 months in a row. I mentioned last month that he has taken on a second job, so it is taking up a lot of his time. We always said that if that were to happen, it would be understandable if any of us couldn't make a recording. We would just move on and he could share his thoughts or at least do maybe the picks of the month. So we'll hear in from him later.
He'll be chiming in from his home planet.
Exactly. Yeah. I think
if
we're
the
just
sanitarium allows him to get on the phone, we'll put him in post.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I gotta click it to spin it.
We'll beam him in like Space Ghost.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. See, it's gonna run out of Tristan before Jimmy even gets one.
And then
I only have one left now.
And then the rest of the year is gonna be me and Cory just battling to the death.
No, you already have one gone too. I did February and March.
I haven't done any.
Oh God, we're in March already.
So then I did Heavyweights and now Dolores Claiborne, which is our movie for March 1995. Like I said, it is a Stephen King adaptation. Going with a trend from the year before, it's more of a dramatic piece. It's from a book from a couple of years earlier. It was actually the highest grossing film or book from the year it came out. I saw that was pretty significant. So it was obviously on everyone's minds and quick to make into a film. The actual plot of it is that there has been, quote, a murder on a distant island in Maine. Supposedly this elderly rich woman that lived on the island has been knocked down the stairs by Dolores Claiborne. They do not have the exact right evidence, and as the investigator tries to pin the murder definitively on her, her daughter Selena comes back to investigate a little bit herself and try to cope with the trauma she endured during her time as a child on the island. Her father died when she was young, and via flashbacks we learn what that trauma exactly was, how that trauma affected both Selena and her mother Dolores, and how it affected the woman Dolores worked for, Vera, who is the woman who has been murdered in present day. Everything is locked up inside all of these characters, and it comes out by the end to help them cope and finalize what the original death meant and what the current death means. It's a twisty tale that actually I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to go. It was well crafted. I have not read the book, so I don't know if it's exactly like this where it goes back and forth. I would imagine that's a good way to convey this. It would make sense if it was pretty straight adaptation.
It's two good women in a bad situation.
Yeah. Did you notice? I wanted to bring this up as quickly as possible. Did you notice who plays young Selena?
Oh yes, I was very happy.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of
Ellen Muth, star of the short-lived series Dead Like Me.
One of Jeff's favorite shows. So it's her first performance, at least in a movie. I have to say, such a striking resemblance to Jennifer Jason Leigh, who plays older Selena.
Yeah.
Incredible casting,
top notch.
So that's
and the woman who played young Dolores looked exactly like the old Dolores.
I know, that was so impressive.
Yes,
yeah,
so good woman. Must have been like Kathy Bates's daughter or something.
Something crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of that, actually casting, it's funny because, like I said, it's sort of in the vein of Shawshank Redemption the year before. That's why I was saying it's like
in the movie
two straight dramatic adaptations from Stephen King. Just a few years before, Kathy Bates won an Oscar for playing a character in a Stephen King adaptation in Misery. So it's kind of a combination of the two movies.
And actually, it's funny because like Stephen King was so impressed with her performance in Misery, he literally wrote the character of Dolores Claiborne with Kathy Bates in mind.
I did not know that.
So
Good
like
reading.
the book is she was always meant to play this part. Maybe
Fantastic.
just sort of like second-handedly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is probably
That's
why
neat.
it's one of her favorite film roles.
Yeah, yeah. She's very
How
good in it. I definitely think this is a good choice for us because I think
No
she's
pun
is
intended.
underrated.
I think her performance in this eclipses her one in Misery.
That is one of the major points. As you see behind Cory, there's David Strathairn playing the father who dies. Oh, there's Kathy. His death happens during an eclipse back when young Selena is what, 13, 14? Too young.
She's
Either
got a
way.
job, so she can't be that young.
You don't know how these
No
island
child
towns
labor
work.
laws were in Maine, so
It was the 60s, so maybe 70s. So
yeah.
yeah, it's been what, 13 years? I forget the exact number. And it's supposed to be present day, 93, maybe a little earlier. I forget. I tried to calculate as it was happening. I didn't bother.
They're predicting the far off future of 1996. So
Which is next year, yeah.
right.
The movie begins in such a gothic manner with that Danny Elfman score, and I kept thinking, why does this feel like a Tim Burton movie? But it's got to be the score.
Yeah, it's all Danny. Yeah.
It's
If
his warm up act in like his off season training in between Tim Burton movies.
Right, yeah.
yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was also interesting. This was the second John C. Reilly movie we've done.
And
Wow.
second David
Also
Strathairn.
with David Strathairn.
They both were in River Wild.
We're having
Did not share scenes in this film.
What a contrast.
Oh,
with David Strathairn.
right. He was Strathairn was the good guy in River Wild.
And he usually plays the mild-mannered sap that he is in that movie, not the abusive, irascible alcoholic like this. This is it.
Pedophile.
Shows that
Yeah.
he's got range.
Yeah.
He's actually convincing in the role.
Yeah, good accent too.
It's a little thick.
Yeah.
Just
I think all their accents are
I think
right.
that's the booze. You know,
That
if your
could
character's
be.
playing an alcoholic, you're excused with accent stuff.
You got to slur a main accent.
Yeah.
I noticed that Plummer didn't have an accent. Or
Christopher
maybe,
Plummer, yeah. Yeah,
maybe he
Plummer
was-
didn't even bother.
maybe he was from
Plummer-
out of town, his character.
Well, the thing with Plummer is like he's such an institution in cinema that like apparently the whole thing was they wanted his character to look as frumpy as possible, but he just looked good in everything. So they
Yeah.
added a scar
He
on
does,
his
doesn't
face.
he?
It's
Yeah.
literally
Hey, what
just
was
like
that? I thought
yeah,
they were
they-
going to explain that.
they added that just to make him like look just, weird and off kilter a little bit.
That's from Investigation 44 of 86.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe
all the money in the
I
world.
thought I heard some. I thought some of his words came through in a slight Maine accent. So it's almost as if he did come to the island or come to Maine in general, and then has picked up some of the twang in the interim. Maybe that's just me wanting him to have done well with that.
I mean, maybe there is a backstory that was cut out, but either way, it's fine. Because
Yeah.
like Jeff said, he commands the screen.
Right. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They just make up that he's from Austria rather than try to get him to do whatever accent he's supposed to. Interesting idea of having a guy who's just like a shark trying to get you because he's convinced you're a murderer and doesn't care what the repercussions are,
Yeah,
This is like Dexter in a way where it's like the murders are for people that either deserve to die or wanted to die.
But that's
So
that's the whole thing though. Is like this poor woman just had this string of bad luck that ended with people dying or almost dying in her wake. She never actually she didn't inflict any damage on anyone.
Right.
Damage was inflicted upon by themselves.
She just found the hole.
Right. That was the only thing where it was like sort of intentional, but even that like had the chance of not working.
Well, I do like the through line where she never actually says it except to Strathairn, where she's sort of suicidal. Like she wants him to kill her instead of just be beaten all the time. And then when she's running, you can almost think, okay, if he catches me and kills me, at least I'm dead. Or he's dead. Either way, something has to fall.
Yeah.
Right.
She's given over control that way.
And that's why she's like willing to finally confess at the end. That's why she's like fed up with her boss and she's willing to be sacked by her boss, but her boss actually helps her, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a through line there where that's where you could maybe kind of understand where she's coming from, letting Vera die instead of helping her, because Vera feels the same way and she doesn't like the smell of old, like she understands where the older woman's coming from. She doesn't want to end up pitiful, which is where Dolores is. So
that character had more dimension than they initially hinted at. So
Vera. Yeah. Judy Parfitt does a pretty good job too. And also fascinating to see she's obviously actually young here, and with that makeup you thought she was going to be played by a much older woman. So
makeup's great.
yeah
Yeah, the makeup team was incredible.
You can definitively tell when it's young Dolores and old Dolores without needing the color change.
Also, right. Well, that was the other thing. Was also through the cinematography was they changed the contrast, so everything
color palette.
was brighter and
There was
a
like
lot more
halcyon,
orange.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
like halcyon auburn colors in the past, and then it's very cold blue, like cyan colors in the present. Make it
Which
like a chill, like a permafrost chill to it.
Yeah, no sun
Yeah.
anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
an eclipse that has gone over their whole lives these past 15 years.
yeah, the eclipse
Metaphor.
is like the central, the overarching subplot, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Because like it's a big thing in Maine. The eclipse is coming over, so the hotel's sold out. They're doing all this other stuff, and actually, yeah, that's the connection, isn't it? Because it happened the first time too, and it's
It's just kind of
it's all
funny.
it's all coming together.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about, having two actresses play older and younger versions of Selena was they're able to actually like have scenes together.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically the one like not twist but like confirmation of
Right.
what Dolores thought was going on
Yeah,
between
I said
her
twisty,
husband and her daughter.
but it's more that it's like you see a train coming and you don't want it to hit you, but you can't
Yeah.
avoid it. So
Yeah, and she's like watching this from the outside, like on the ferry, and it's just like it's a gripping tale, and it's I don't know, the performances were good in that. It
yeah, I
was
think that's the big part. Everyone sells their characters and are very succinct in their
harrowing.
performances. That's what really makes this a good movie.
Yeah, harrowing was the word I was looking for.
Okay, yeah.
That's yeah.
I had to talk to let
Because
you
it's like
rack
that
your
moment.
brain.
Well, because the other thing is like it's such a slow burn with this movie. Like it's 2 hours and 11 minutes,
A little longer than we've been doing the last few films.
which
Grossing them.
I have thoughts about that because it didn't necessarily need to be that long, but
I got issues with the ending.
Mm-hmm. What are those? Let me see
Um,
if they're the same as mine.
I think it gets a little grandstanding at the ending, and things are a little too patly disentangled by the end.
In the courtroom,
Yeah, the coroner examination.
that final scene is a little rough. The guy who's writing everything down for Christopher Plummer, I guess he's the coroner. Is that what
Yeah,
it is?
yeah.
He's a little too like, oh, that's what's happening. All right, go ahead.
He acted like a magistrate, so it was weird because
Right.
he's
Yeah.
a
They never
judge.
explain.
God.
I
yeah.
do like that John
Well,
C. Riley, who is Plummer's associate, he's like the local sheriff essentially. He's sort of like, no, you're messing up. Like, don't hound her about this. Like, I saw her find out in real time about the money. Like, I'm not gonna defend you, man. He's not a
yeah.
pushover, essentially, which is kind of good. It makes a character more 3D than you would expect for such a small role.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that was the other thing. The connection between all of these characters was the fact that, when Dolores started working for Vera, like she'd been working for her for like 30 odd years and was putting in all of the money she was earning into an account that was then blindsidedly emptied by her abusive husband.
Yeah, with a cameo from Shawshank's guy himself.
Yeah, the warden.
Yeah, the warden. Thank you for the word.
Bob
You're losing
Gunn.
words this morning. Yeah, Bob Gunton. I do like that they don't just have him be like, oh yeah, we messed up. Let's remedy this. We find out later that she kind of fixes it with him, but there's still some money lost. Like it's a give and a take rather than just like a happy resolution.
Now that reinforces the theme. Jeff, hold up your mug. There you go. This movie technically takes place, even though it wasn't commemorated back then, International Women's Month.
Oh, it was. That's what I looked up.
Oh, there you
It
go.
started in 1978. I don't know when, like I said, I forget when these flashbacks happened, but by 93, we were celebrating International Women's Month.
Well, there you go.
So this is a very empowering film, even if they have to go through as much trauma as possible.
Unfortunately.
Well, it is a Stephen King movie,
Right. Can't just
Not
have.
sunshine or
There's
rain.
got to be trauma. It's not all rainbows.
Yeah. I saw a
But-
quote from him yesterday because
Although-
he was actually trending on Twitter yesterday, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
We're recording on March 15th, just so you know. So this is back on the 14th.
The Ides of
but,
March, baby.
people just post memes, and so I saw a quote that someone had posted about how a good story isn't like a lot of stories are about ordinary people, whether it's that they got cancer or there's a vampire. It's the extraordinary happening to the ordinary. So
Right.
this is the extraordinary life of a simple woman and the effects that the trauma has on her. The monster is Paul St. George. It is Paul.
I got one
John.
other
It's
quibble.
John. Joe.
Whatever.
One of
What-
those
you know-
one syllable names.
After straight hair goes into the well, she looks directly at the eclipse. Shouldn't she be blind or something?
Thank you. Isn't that what we learned at this past eclipse recently?
Right.
You're supposed he had the little like cardboard thing. Like you're
What
supposed
are you doing
to
these goddamn
Yeah,
things?
she turned her head right as the moon was eclipsing it, so she
Oh.
was fine. That's the whole thing. You see the corona and all that.
the corona's supposed to burn on your eyes. That's what we learned.
No, the
So she-
corona. That's the one point when the moon is in front of the sun that you are allowed to look directly at it without the glasses.
Okay, I
Everything
don't remember
else
us
leading
saying
up to that,
last
everything
year.
else. Wait, listen. This is. I looked into this.
Okay.
This is. I mean, I stare into the sun on a not eclipse day. That's the fun thing about they're selling those eclipse glasses. Nobody tells you can just look at the sun with them whenever you want. Like no one's gonna say no.
Okay,
You don't
Professor
have to wait. You
Cecilberg.
don't have to wait for an eclipse. You can just like look at the sun
You
for
sneaky
funsies.
little devil, you.
This is what
little-
I do on my break at work.
But that's the one thing, and
Maybe it'll get
right.
me.
Listen, it just sometimes some people stare at trees, some people stare at lakes. I stare at the sun because it's there all the time. I need a little consistency in my life. Anyway,
Okay.
so
Oh, God.
but
This
yes,
got
she
really
looks at
depressing.
she looks at the eclipse at the exact moment that all of this is happening.
I didn't see her avert her eyes.
Well, she looks
Uh,
at the what's that total recall moment when it passes over? Yeah, she gets there right at the
It's
pinpoint,
the
but
Total
the worst
eclipse.
part is right before.
I want to say singularity, but that's not it.
I want to say
Singularity.
singularity. too.
Totality. It's literally totality.
Totality. So that's
Okay.
why you want to say singularity.
Totality. It was a nice visual thing, but it's funny because you watch it and it feels like it's on a green screen, like it's a badly
It
matted
does.
green screen.
I
But-
didn't think it was that bad.
I understood why,
But here's the thing:
because it's gonna
if
look a little
you
weird.
watched anything during the eclipse, that's just what life looks like.
Yeah, no, they accurately got it.
Yeah, like in
I'm not bothered
reality,
by it.
right? So they did a really good job, like capturing that, imagery.
It looks otherworldly.
Yeah, it looks otherworldly. Like everybody, the guy standing next to you looks like he's a badly matted, green screen. I liked it. I don't know. That was a good thing. The other interesting thing was watching, Kathy Bates in the courtroom and realizing, oh right, she's on Matlock now.
Oh, that's true.
She's the new Matlock. Totally different, not
I heard
related.
her say that might be her last role. She might retire after that.
Yeah, she was about to retire before this. So
Mhm.
I'm fine
Until
with
they're
it.
like, hey, you want to play the oldest lawyer who ever lived?
Yeah, when you get to the age you're Matlock, you think about your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I am very
She
proud
looks
of
better
her.
than Andy Griffith.
She does, honestly. I think that looks like a decent show if you really want to get into Matlock.
You
I
want
don't know.
that piece of the week.
I think I just like
Yeah.
Kathy Bates. I mean, Jeff and I are huge fans of 6 Feet Under, and that's one of her prominent recurring roles on TV.
Yeah.
So love every episode she's into that because she comes in like a tornado as the mom's best friend. I didn't realize she's only in like 8 episodes of 6 Feet Under, but every time she pops in, it's fantastic.
It's worth it. That show was almost 25 years ago.
It is. It was 01.
2001. Yeah.
Speaking of Dexter.
Right. But no, I think like of the Stephen King adaptations, this is definitely one of the darkest without going gory
Or Supernatural.
or supernatural. Like this is like I was talking about the slow burn earlier, and I'm like, that's just like as someone who was watching it, like it felt a little slow, but it also did give you the time to see the full spectrum of how much this woman was just fucking put upon her entire life
Mm-hmm.
by everyone, and it got really hard to watch at certain points, and it's like I wanted her to get into like a flying rage and kill everyone,
Sure. That's what
and
they want you
go
to want.
full- right, but then she didn't. It was just like it was like passive justice isn't the word, but like it was accidental manslaughter. No,
Isn't there an
Man-
actual term for
manslaughter.
that?
Right, manslaughter
Isn't that
is
manslaughter?
manslaughter is the I don't know.
Involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah, right, exactly, right, manslaughter by proxy,
Or as Christopher Plummer would put it, she deserves the chair.
because just death followed her, but it wasn't.
You're gonna get 10
But if
years
you
at
take-
Shawshank.
If you take the chance to listen to what she's saying,
Wait, are we supposed to learn something from this murderer?
believe women.
Oh yeah, that's
Believe
right.
all women.
An actual
That's
good message.
That's the message. That's the
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know how to transition to this, but it popped into my head.
Sorry.
Um,
Uh-oh.
I'm just
not
here to
not a
spew the
big deal,
data.
but like the fact that they had that you were talking about the ending before and how it was a little strange. They resolve everything, and Dolores is finally let go by
Rich.
Christopher Plummer. She's rich. They haven't finalized that part of it, which isn't that big of a deal. She has to go do it herself. But Jennifer Jason Leigh, you assume will come back and visit, but it's been like a decade, enough for her mother to not know what she looks like. And she's like, all right, I gotta go. I don't have the story I was chasing anymore, but I'm leaving now. Good, we got that. I'm getting on the boat right now.
Oh yeah, by the way,
She leaves immediately.
would you call it a cameo by Eric Bogosian?
He's in a couple scenes, and he's
Yeah.
listed pretty high. So, but it's
That's
cool that
who
Eric
that was.
Bogosian's in there.
Great casting.
Yeah, I thought it was Adam Arkin at first. He had the
Yeah.
look of him.
Adam Morgan couldn't play a prick like Eric Bogosian.
That's true. He's too nice. But yeah, it was cool that that's another thing. They give her a full flesh character.
Yeah.
She's got to get out of here because she's chasing the story. And at the same time that it dies on her, it's taken away from her. She is forced to confront the reality of the situation on the island. So it's
chasing the story too in Hudsucker Proxy.
Yeah, that's true. It's I don't know if it's well paced or well delineated, I guess, is what I'm looking for. But yeah, what do you think is off about the pacing? I guess, Jeff, because you said it could have been shorter.
It started slow, and like it just felt very slow throughout most of it, and maybe the part of that was just capturing the energy of rural seaside Maine. But
that's what I got. But I could see maybe
I think it broke up the monotony by going back and forth between the past and the present. So
sure, yeah, but is it that we're sort of anticipating what's coming because we know, like she does, that he's probably a pedophile and that's why he's gonna get his comeuppance, or is it like we sort of also can tell that Vera may have just fallen? Like
right.
The first shot, you can tell someone gets slapped, and you're like, oh, if she's gonna be free, she gets slapped rather than does the slapping.
Yeah, you see a struggle in silhouette, and then someone falls down the stairs, and you're like, oh no, how'd we get here?
Yeah, so if you put two and two together, you're not like gonna be surprised necessarily by what happens.
Yeah, it just seemed to take, and maybe this is just my internet rattled brain, and I'm
too
just
much ADD now.
Right, basically. No, that was really, it just felt slow, and I didn't know what I was supposed to be looking for or expecting until about like 25-30 minutes into the movie, because starts with Kathy Bates doing this thing, and then it starts with Jason Leigh at the office being a hotshot lawyer who gets this mysterious fax like, is this your mother? And she's like, oh no, I have to go home.
Yeah, I guess they just let you learn everything by proxy rather than spoon feed you. That's why it takes so long.
That's what movies do. Like
that's like a novel too.
That's fine. And it also, like, maybe it's because I didn't read the book. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know anything about this. Like, you hear, oh, they're making an adaptation of it. It's the clown, whatever. Like, that there's a thing happening. But like, I knew nothing about this, which was good. Like I said, ultimately, I liked the movie, but it was just I didn't know what to expect going into it. It kind of felt like a very long Lifetime movie in a way.
Okay.
Not in a bad way necessarily.
It's just because a lot of Lifetime movies are like this.
Like if a Lifetime movie without commercial breaks, 2.5 hours. I don't know. I'm just talking myself into a well here.
I'm trying to think of anything else that we didn't talk about per se. We didn't talk about Taylor Hackford's career or anything. He's the director of this.
Oh, right.
He's a pretty solid. I wouldn't say journeyman. He's just kind of like he's consistently quality.
He's married to Helen Mirren.
Yeah. He did a great film, White Nights, and met her on that.
It's a really good movie.
He's a pretty solid director. He did An Officer and a Gentleman, so there's your Lou Gossett Oscar.
Later on this decade, he did Devil's Advocate,
which is a great Al Pacino performance. He does the great biopic Ray, where Ray Charles gets Jamie Foxx an Oscar.
It's true.
Yeah, there's a bunch of films that you're like, oh, that guy directed it. Taylor Hackford's one of those directors. And
he does stuff like The Comedian and below.
Yeah, after Ray, it's been a little shaky, but that's okay. We can be happy that he did a couple of great films.
And he did Love Ranch, but we're
gonna move on from that. We're trying to praise Taylor Hackford.
No, he does a great job with this. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought that this was like Rob Reiner directed it, or
right. Especially with like your Stephen King adaptations around then. Frank Darabont had just done Shawshank, so it would have made sense for him to just do another one right away, especially with his penchant for doing them well.
It's funny that they name dropped Shawshank when the movie didn't do well in theaters at the time.
Right.
Well, isn't that a real? Oh no, that's a fictional.
Yeah, it's real in our hearts, Jeff.
It's real in Castle Rock, sir.
Yeah,
they're doing a stage version of it locally to us now, which I didn't know.
Shawshank or Dolores?
Musical?
Yeah, no, Shawshank. There's an onstage version of Shawshank Redemption.
Where?
They're doing it at Villagers.
It's not a jukebox musical, is it?
That's really funny.
No, unfortunately.
How do they cover the
It's a play, but then actually that's a play. I'm reading now, I'm looking over the trivia again. Apparently for Dolores Claiborne, a 2-act opera adaptation premiered in San Francisco in 2013.
That could make sense. I could see that.
The eclipse is coming.
Well, yeah, it's slow, and slow burn must be an opera.
Get your fat ass back in the kitchen.
But only, right, that's the thing. But only if they sing it in a Maine accent.
Get your lobster here.
Now listen.
Whoa.
That's
wait a minute. Hold on.
Did you just get that this is about pedophilia?
No, goddamn. Well, no.
No.
No, I'm just looking at the trivia stuff again. So, fun fact
Mhm.
for all you Christina Aguilera fans: sound bites from the scene where Selena recovers a repressed memory of being coerced into doing a sexual favor for her father are included at the beginning of Christina Aguilera's song "I'm Okay."
Huh.
What's
The
she
song
trying
is
to
the
tell us?
19th track on her album Stripped.
Interesting.
That changes some vibes.
Right.
I got that from, what is it, stripped or unstripped? I forget.
Stripped,
Right. Yeah.
according to the trivia thing, but who the fuck knows?
I see one thing we didn't talk about, by the way. I know you and all three of us are a big fans of Tony Gilroy from at least
Michael,
Rogue One and
Michael Clayton.
yeah, Michael Clayton. So this is one of his first films that he wrote. He stuck around with Taylor Hackford a couple times, but his first film is The Cutting Edge, which I never knew until we covered this.
Really?
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. It makes sense. I love that movie. I could see Tony Gilroy's polish on that, but he does
Wow.
Devil's Advocate with him later. He does Proof of Life, the Meg Ryan affair movie. He then directed a couple films like Michael Clayton, Born Legacy, Duplicity.
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler is his brother Dan.
Oh, Dan. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. He's in a whole family of writers. Their father, Frank, was a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright who wrote The Subject Was Roses. And his brother Dan wrote Nightcrawler, The Fall, the Tarsem Singh movie, and Roman J. Israel Esquire. And then their brother, John, is an accomplished editor who works on pretty much every project I just mentioned.
Oh,
So he's just always hanging out with his brothers editing them.
cool.
So the Gilroy family is much more prevalent than I realized. I thought they popped up in the mid 2000s, but Tony's been around since 93, 92, whenever Cutting Edge came out. And I think he does a good job adapting this. He just wrapped up Andor season 2, which is appropriate for us to talk about him.
Can't wait.
I'm very excited about that. He's done the best stuff for Star Wars since it got acquired by Disney, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
This show and Rogue One are his babies. Even just making the character a cash at Andor is good enough.
So we
What
wanna
would
give-
you want to give grades?
I'm gonna go B plus. I think
Good for you.
despite the fact that it did respectable business at the box office, it's kind of a
20
unsung.
million?
Yeah, well, it's an unsung Stephen King adaptation. Not a lot of people know about it, which is why we focused on it. But it's richly haunting. It's saturnine, but it's got bravura like performances from both the leads. Actually, everybody in general. It's a great ensemble cast.
Yeah, there's not really a false note in here. There's a couple of melodramatic moments, but it kind of lends itself to that.
Yeah,
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Speaking to your money making, in my memory, this did really well and it was critically beloved. It got 2 nominations at like the Saturn Awards and only made 20 million. It never topped third place. And 20 million back then, while seeming pretty great because of inflation, still
Right.
isn't that much.
No.
Like Tommy Boy did quite well compared to that. That was a hit in March. Either way, I think this is by now undersung for sure.
Mhm.
Because people just kind of dismiss it, as that other dramatic one from the 90s. Shawshank overshadows it by now. 'cause
I
it's
guess
cult
her
status.
Oscar win from Misery overshadows as well.
And that also, you're like, what's the best Kathy Bates Stephen King adaptation? There too.
Right.
Either way, I would give this an A-. I know that was long-winded, but I am always long-winded. So,
But you,
Okay. I'm also gonna go B plus,
all right.
specifically because of pacing. Everything else was great, but it was just it could have been 20 minutes shorter,
that's fair.
Yeah, I agree.
and they could have tied it up structurally. I could have seen it done differently, but
I think because I ended up having to buy this, I want to feel like I love this movie and will ever watch it again.
yeah, I
You
mean
know?
it was great. This is not gonna be my feel good movie that I watch when I'm having a bad day, but
No.
unless
on
it's
my
be like, well,
YouTube
you know
if you
what,
ever
some
wanna
people
watch
have
it.
it worse. Yes, exactly.
I gotta unwind. I want to see Kathy Bates get hit with a rolling pin.
Yeah.
Tease, what a tease that one.
Speaking of teasers, what other movies came out
There it is.
this month?
So I want to give special mention to a movie that Tristan has a special connection to called Roommates.
Not a special connection.
Speaking of-
I watched it in 95.
Speaking of DB Sweeney,
Yeah,
DB
that's my
Sweeney
connection.
and Peter Falk.
I
they
just
play
think it's a weird plot.
roommates. It sounds like a sitcom premise, and it kind of plays like one. DB Sweeney plays the grandson. Peter Falk is the grandfather.
Did you watch this?
I did.
Okay, it's a weird plot. It's his parents die, so his grandfather takes him in, and everyone's like, "You're too old to watch your grandson and raise him."
He lives till about
That's it.
114 or something.
Yeah, which is currently older than any man except for 2 has ever lived.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a fantasy, but it's like the hijinks ensue when he's in college and dating Julianne Moore.
I was
and
gonna say early role for Julianne Moore.
they're roommates.
Not to
So is he
well-
hearing them have sex? Oh no.
what's going on in there.
Yeah.
Also, weird plot development that she dies, but
Yeah.
that's
out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, traumatized me as a kid. I saw this when I was like 8. I probably shouldn't have.
Nah, nobody should watch this.
The thing I remember the most was him like peeking in on them, like, what's going on in there when they're trying to hook up. And I'm like, that seems
No.
uncomfortable. Like, imagine a caked in makeup Peter Falk like peeking in on you when you're trying to hook up with Julianne Moore. Oh, thank you.
Hey, some people might get off on that. That might be a fetish.
Oh, one more thing.
Do you mind? So officially the top 5. Number 5 is Tank Girl, which is a post-apocalyptic punk rock hybrid of satire, supposed satire, and girl empowerment action movie. It's based on a comic book. I found it insufferable. I don't like Lori Petty. I like her in small doses, like in A League of Her Own. But in this, she's the lead, and it's intolerable. I don't know how you felt about it, but
Well, I watched this for the podcast because I remember. So last month I had mentioned how like stuff like Heavyweights, Mom and I would go to the Edison Theater to watch stuff in the summer. Every time we'd go in '95, the trailer for Tank Girl would play before these kids movies. So I thought this whole time it was kind of a kids movie, but it is one of the horniest films I've ever seen. There's a weird situation where she ends up hooking up with a kangaroo mutant.
Ice-T.
And yeah, it's not Ice-T she hooks up with, but
right.
he's the leader of the kangaroo mutants. She hooks up with the dumb kangaroo, and like you were saying, they have all these transitions through comic books. It looks like they obviously either ran out of time or didn't know how to budget in certain sets. Interestingly, the production manager is Catherine Hardwicke, who hadn't directed a film yet. She broke out in 03 with 13, but she was I guess a prominent production designer back then, and I think she did well with what she had. It's just in the end, I almost would rather this have been animated because it suits it better. There's a whole sequence where they're like completely animated, and I'd rather it have just been that. That was the best part.
Right.
And Lori Petty could voice it. She wouldn't be as obnoxious. I actually agree with you that this is kind of terrible.
Yeah,
A bit of a waste of time. The makeup is very weird. Do you remember a movie called
Warriors of Virtue?
Warriors of Virtue.
I knew where you were going with this.
Yeah.
Of Virtue, yeah.
Do you remember that, Jeff?
Nope.
So there were these it was this like kung fu mystic movie where Angus McFadden of all people is trying to take over the world, and
Just sorcerer.
Yeah, and these 5 bunny warriors come in and stop him with a kid.
These look like rejected designs for that.
Right.
I forget what came first, this or that.
This did. I looked it up. It
Okay,
was
so
like
they probably just
97.
reused the same props.
Right. Yeah. Warriors of Virtue looks better, but I also haven't seen that. That was another one I saw the trailer to all the time.
Weirdly directed by Ronnie Yu. Even
So-
Malcolm McDowell like chewing the scenery doesn't help.
He maybe was the only part I liked, but he doesn't really have much to do.
No,
Kinda
and
cool.
He the main villain.
There's a part in it where he gets his head knocked off and they replace his head with like a hologram. I think that's a good idea for a villain. I've never seen that in anything else, but it's wasted on this film.
Right. So number 4, this might surprise me, it was so low on my list, but for a Merchant Ivory movie, it's one of my least favorites. Jefferson in Paris, which has Nick Nolte playing Thomas Jefferson. Very odd choice. And instead of being very expressive or demonstrative with his performance, he actually becomes very low wattage and low key, and it kind of doesn't work. It's skittish about the relationship between him and Thandie Newton, because we all know about Sally.
He plays Sally Hemings, yeah.
Yeah, Sally Hemings. So it doesn't fully invest in that relationship. It's way too meandering. It will go between like political machinations, and then the relationship with Sally is kind of barely a side plot, barely a B plot.
Yeah, I was curious how definitive this was on Jefferson, so I guess not much.
Not really.
Yeah.
It's doing the Lincoln playbook, which is we take one specific flashpoint in a person's life and we try to expand that and have that be the overview of someone's life, but you get no insight into Jefferson in this.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wonder if there's really been a good biopic of him.
No, that's it. They should do like at least a miniseries.
And at this point, it's going to be very negative towards him,
that one
because
song,
of Sally.
That one song in Hamilton.
Yeah. So number 3 is it's a weird film I believe Tristan's seen. It's called Tall Tale.
Oh yeah, following up on Heavyweights, Disney's next kid stuff.
Right, yeah. Patrick Swayze plays Pecos Bill, which is a figment of this kid's imagination, supposedly. Not quite sure.
Yeah.
So this, I think it's young Nick Stahl.
It is. It's one of his first movies.
Yeah. His father is terrorized and killed by these pack of banditos, and then
he does not die.
Like, doesn't?
No, he just gets shot.
Well, he gets shot.
He's shot by Scott Glenn,
Scott Glenn.
but survives. And while he's recovering, Nick still tries to run out and get help and he runs into Pecos Bill and some other American legends that are basically our mythology. Like your Paul Bunyan with Blue, the Ox.
Right.
And what's the other guy? John, blanking on his name. I just watched this too.
Oh,
Yeah, what
it's-
are the three
I just
guys?
watched it too, and it just
Yeah.
completely got away from my
I just lost his name.
The movie itself is fine as well. It's kind of bantamweight, not great. This is around the time that Disney was doing live action stuff that wasn't really getting traction.
John Henry.
John Henry,
Yeah.
yeah, played by
Roger Aaron Brown. Yeah. The other two are more famous. Oliver Platt following up his role in Three Musketeers, another Disney film, to play another Disney character. He's maybe the best of the three. He's hamming it up and he's having fun.
right.
But not much to this.
Kind of a vanity project, I feel like, for Patrick Swayze, but I could be
I think he's good. He disappears into the role, honestly.
right. Number 2 is Outbreak, which, having lived through a pandemic now, the premise only looks a little more cockamamie.
Mhm.
The way that spread.
No one listens.
And how quickly things spread. I know it's supposed to be a fictional virus, but this was shortly after like the big AIDS scare of the 90s. So great cast. It's got Dustin Hoffman, Morgan Freeman, Donald Sutherland as the heel sergeant. Of course, they had to have a human villain. That's where the movie starts to go off the rails a little bit. It's weird because Wolfgang Pearson is pretty well known for making these these electrifying, high octane thrillers, and I don't think this is in the league of Das Boot or Air Force One. Because he does tend to sensationalize this scenario.
Yeah, I don't know how well, it's done much better.
I guess Contagion is better.
15 years later with Contagion.
But my number one, Tristan already mentioned, is Tommy Boy. Great pairing between David Spade and Chris Farley. I think originally this script was kind of conceived by Lorne because he saw the two of them goofing around the office. He's like, you know what? We should do a buddy film with the two of you. You have good chemistry. And
Good Lorne.
Nah, it wasn't that great. But they were planning on doing a couple of collaborations. They do Black Sheep shortly after this, and then they were planning on a third one called The Tree, which I couldn't find much information about the premise of that. Honestly, this is probably Chris Farley's best starring vehicle.
Absolutely, yeah.
Probably Peter Siegel's best directorial effort.
What else did he do?
So he did My Fellow Americans, Longest Yard remake.
Okay, fair enough.
You
ever see Tommy Boy, Jeff?
No, I've not.
Oh, buddy.
I always got it confused with Black Sheep, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen clips from Tommy Boy.
You should see it.
Those the used car salesman one.
You like Rob Lowe? No. Is he a used car salesman?
No.
Yeah, I don't
What
know.
am I thinking?
No, they're selling brake pads.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you were close.
Car parts.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd's got a really good role.
Rob Lowe.
Lowe's.
Bo Derek, right?
Yes. And Brian Dennehy plays Tommy Sr.
Yeah.
Actually,
Great.
kind of emotional at times. There's some good pathos in the film.
Yeah. They have good chemistry, Brian Dennehy and Chris Farley. Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, I could see them being father and son, actually.
Do you imagine Chris Farley in Death of a Salesman
Ooh,
as like Biff or Happy?
yeah.
Yeah.
David, don't cloud my mind with things that could have been. But yeah, I think it's a shame because this showed that Chris could have had a promising film career. He had a little bit of that John Candy magic,
He did, yeah.
But that brings us to
Poster Boy. Speaking of sad clowns.
Hey, it's my time to shine.
Oh, don't give it away.
Speaking of
Yeah.
sad clowns,
All right, you ready, Jeff?
as I'll ever be.
You ready for this?
Why
Why don't you describe what we're seeing?
Okay. White background, a throne with presumably not a throne, but like a really fancy red ornate armchair with presumably a kid in it.
Yep.
But and the kid has outstretched arms and he's puppeteering a
Marionetting.
marionetting a balding businessman.
Dance puppet.
It's like
Dance.
leaned up. And it is a Walt Disney Pictures Presents.
Do you know what this is off the bat? Because we can just skip
don't.
to the end. Okay.
I don't.
Well, let me see if this helps.
Okay. We have just added a Tommy Lee Jones and a cowboy hat.
Yeah,
over the
that's
blurred
a
face.
hint if you
Yes.
know your films.
Which I
Hey,
don't.
Tristan, I
Which
got
is
this
why
post,
we
by the
do
way.
this.
So I'll go back to the first shot.
See, also it's presumably either a kid or Adam Sandler. I should specify
Because he's wearing a hoodie.
because a hoodie,
and shorts.
a hoodie,
This is like
shorts,
Billy Madison a bit.
knee
Yeah.
pads, and sneakers.
Yeah, that could easily be Bradley Whitford,
Right, exactly.
being on the strings.
I want to say the hairline for the businessman reminds me of James Gandolfini, but
Yeah, it does. He has a weird hairline in this
he's like
poster.
he's like a thin Tony Soprano,
Yeah.
with a suit and tie. I'm assuming this is one of those movies where like, wait a minute, no, okay, I'm not gonna jump right off the bat, but I think obviously this is,
Gonna let
you
you
know,
cook.
a kid has some influence over a businessman to do
Okay.
things. Obviously, judging by the subtle imagery of the marionette strings.
Sure. Yeah.
Is this Blank Check?
No,
Okay, all
we
right.
just passed that last year, but I get
Okay,
the idea
it does seem
to
like
do
that.
that. Yeah, this poster
Yeah.
could have just been blank check, and maybe they're playing off of that idea, like he's manipulating this person.
Right, right, right.
He's got the
Or it's
control.
like
So you got that.
it's too early to be big fat liar.
Right.
Even though it
Good
does
idea.
seem like the same type of thing. Like this, I think this kid's ready to blackmail his dad.
There you go.
Something.
Good.
His
I
dad's like
didn't want to
embezzling
give
fun.
in
Yeah.
that they're related because I
Getting
want to see if
even
you
with
could
that.
tell from the poster.
Yeah,
Like there's
his-
no instance that couldn't just be Dutch or it
His
could be
dad-
blank check.
Right.
You know?
His dad's some high powered CEO. His son threatens to blackmail him unless he buys him whatever he wants.
Right.
And it becomes like a knockoff of Richie Rich with
That's
like
fair. Yeah,
like
yeah.
like an angry, like a Dennis the Menace type, but like evil.
I like that you were able to interpret that way. Like that's what this gives you. Obviously, that's not exactly the plot, but
Yeah.
that you came up with something yourself. That's the point of this.
I
So-
have my own thoughts.
So
Thanks.
what would you call that? Because it will not be the title of this based on your
right.
plot.
No, it's not. Pull on the strings. Not Payback.
That's Mel Gibson later.
Executive Vacation.
Executive decision.
Executive. Right. Yes, there it is. Executive Decision.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you come up with other '90s movies to get your plot.
Was that one?
Yeah, that's next year, I think, or 2 years.
Chairman of the board.
Mm-hmm. Chairman of the board.
Board spelled BORED.
Oh,
All right,
boy.
Norm.
Yeah, I like these. Okay, so those are pretty good titles. Obviously that plot isn't exactly what it is. He's pulling all the strings in his family instead of the man's business. So that's more of what it is. But we'll get to that later about what you think the title is. Who do you think these two are? Because it is obviously not Tommy Lee Jones, but that is a hint to what the title is. It could have been. It should have been.
No Country for Young Men.
Yeah. I'm not trying to throw you off with this. That's just a reference to the actual title.
I want to say, okay, so the dad, I'm trying to think of like who looks like that back then. The kid, male or female?
Male, and biggest child star at the time.
The kid from
On
Home
TV.
Alone 3.
Everywhere, everywhere.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Good job.
Wow,
He is the biggest. 95 is his apex for sure.
Wasn't Macaulay Culkin still like the biggest?
He usurps him like this year.
Wow.
Like Home Alone's already 2 years ago, and now he's like the star of the biggest show on television. He's starring in this. This was #1 for a couple weeks, and he does Tom and Huck and a couple other things in the next 2 years. He does that I'll Be Home for Christmas thing on TV.
That tanked though.
But that's his run is like 94 to 98, whereas Macaulay's is like 88 to 94.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's the next one.
He's on deck.
So he's like on the cover of Teen whatever Heartthrob magazine for 5 straight years.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and I want to say Ed Begley Jr. as the dad, but that's
good choice. Right age.
Yeah.
Hard to pin this down. How I could.
Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm trying to think of what we could give you to. I wish we could get a community decision about
James
how to
Caan.
give you a hint.
I could give him a hint.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be on a show that just had its 50th anniversary.
That's true. Not the
Dan
show I just
Aykroyd?
referenced with my hint.
Dan Aykroyd?
Nope.
No.
I just gave you a hint and you didn't even get
But
it.
it is what? Chevy Chase? No, Chevy Chase wouldn't do Disney.
Yes, he would.
Oh my God! What?
Yes, he
Yes.
would. That's right.
Well,
So you got it
okay,
eventually.
then.
We had to
Yeah.
push it in a little bit, but his
Listen, we got-
hairline's a little worse in this poster than it was in the actual movie. I noticed as I was editing, so I knew you might not get it.
Well,
but,
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I obviously said that he's kind of like pulling the strings in his family. So can you come up with the plot based on just
National Lampoon's PTO.
Yeah, what do you think the name of this would be? If, like, basically the plot is he's pulling the strings in his own family.
Yeah.
And
Problem Child.
I could just give you what actually happens. His Chevy Chase starts dating Farrah Fawcett, who is Jonathan Taylor Thomas's mother. And Jonathan Taylor Thomas just doesn't want a new dad, essentially. So Chevy Chase takes him to a bunch of things to try and like connect to him. And the biggest thing they do is join like a sort of pseudo Boy Scouts, which is more like dressing up as Native Americans, which has not aged well
Is
at
it?
all.
No.
But they get into hijinks when camping. That's
Yeah.
basically the whole plot. And the mafia is trying to kill him, which is another subplot, which is why whenever I write stuff, I end up accidentally infusing mafia situations in there.
Yeah, that's what everybody does.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know, let's ramp up the conflict. The mafia's also after them.
Yes, of course. The mafia is going after the summer.
Yeah,
camp.
so when he figures this out, the son's like, oh, I'll help you survive the mafia. And we'll, as a group
I've
of
got
Native American
connections.
wearing Boy Scouts,
Who you know, connections.
we're gonna take out the mafia.
You remember who's organizing the Boy Scout meeting?
Is it? Oh, it's George Wendt.
George Wendt.
Yeah,
Kid Boss.
baby boss.
Baby boss baby.
George
Boss baby, the teen years.
Yeah.
Jason Sudeikis's uncle.
Yes, George Wendt. Yes.
Yeah, George Wendt.
I still like Executive Decision, but that's not the case.
Yeah. So now, like, who's really running
oh.
the show here? That's your hint for what the title actually is.
Yeah, the kid. Yeah, I've exhausted my.
Okay, I'll just show you what it actually is.
Yeah.
Oh
Please
wait,
put
there
me out
was
my
the
misery.
I forgot about the tagline. I should have had the tagline.
Stepdad.
I should have had the tagline last. What would you give to? It's called Man of the House,
Okay.
and that's why I had that.
Don't get it.
Yeah, I'll show you in a second.
That's okay.
What would you give for a tagline for that plot that I just described and Man of the House? I'll give you some bonus points. I liked your own idea, so you get some points from that.
This kid's calling the shots. Let's hope they miss. I don't know. Because now you're saying that the mob's after him. Like, there's a lot of plot lines to tie together in one tagline.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mom's not after the kid, it's after the
he'll get whatever he wants at any means necessary. He's calling the shots, and will hopefully. I have no idea.
That's fine. Okay,
I have
so
no idea what to do with that.
Jack wants to marry Ben's mother, but there are strings attached. Okay, Man of the House.
I get it.
Anyway, this was a 2005 movie.
Oh.
Also called Man of the House, where Tommy Lee Jones has to put 5 cheerleaders for University of Texas under witness protection.
Gotcha.
There you go. So yeah, I love Man of the House as a kid.
This reboot's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so mad because I'm like, that movie looks terrible, and I love Tommy Lee Jones, but what are you doing? Now I got to see this, and I still never have. 20 years later, that came out around now 20 years ago.
Tommy Lee Jones got to get paid.
Yeah.
On 10 years, on the 30th anniversary of it.
Yeah, that was rough because you know what it is. It's such a generic like Disney thing.
Yeah.
Like is every movie like that is about, oh no, the kid has influence over the adult in the situation.
Right. Yeah, what would you call
like,
Heavyweights?
They're all trying to
know.
I would have called Heavyweights Food Fight, but you know that's
right.
But that's the whole thing. It's like they're all.
What would you call like the Big Green?
Food Fight is a classic with Charlie Sheen. We know that.
Yes.
Great animated film.
I'm off today. I'm off my game.
No, you're right, because Disney has these generic titles and they're just like, let's throw, I don't know, Jonathan Taylor Thomas with one of our most famous comedians.
They're
right
spinning their own wheels.
Right.
To be fair, around this time, Chevy had just done the talk show, right?
Right. So he's looking for something.
Chevy had a
talk show. His last legs
career. Sure did. Tell Jeff about the talk show.
Oh, you don't know about this talk show? So shortly after Arsenio left, Fox needed a replacement for talk show host, so Chevy had it. They even called the studio that they filmed it, they called it Chevy Chase Studios. So they lured him back to broadcast TV. It lasted a couple of months and it got canceled.
All in 93.
Yeah. I've watched some of the interviews. He couldn't care less what the person he's interviewing is saying. He's trying to do shtick the whole time. He's trying to monopolize the conversation. It's bad.
Here he is doing an ad. That's in an ad for a show. He's ready to fill the late night gap because he's making fun of Letterman.
Right.
Awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't see the actual words on that. All I saw was gap.
Yeah, blurred. That's why I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bomb, and he needed something to do. And Man of the House revived him a little bit, because it showed that he could actually still do anything.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it was a #1.
Right.
But it still came out in March. So
He looks
That's-
bored during the movie, and he kind of sleepwalks through it.
I love it.
Huh?
I watched this all the time when I was a kid.
I remember seeing this in theaters.
Mm-hmm. You hate it then too?
I didn't hate it, but I just felt like, you know what? Be totally honest with you, I don't know how many Chevy Chase movies you had seen by that point.
This was the only one.
Okay, well,
So this is what I knew him as.
I was gonna say I had seen him as Fletch, Caddyshack, and I was
Right.
just like, this is.
Beneath
Even
him,
back
yeah.
then, I was like, this guy's got in a career slump.
Yeah.
Why is he doing this?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of career slumps at age 8.
I was thinking about it.
Corey thinks ahead.
I
I
know.
think
Corey
He's
was
ahead of-
born 25 years old.
He was ahead of his time.
Sure.
So,
I was born a Hollywood agent.
misanthrope.
I'm a Hollywood agent. A cynical
Yeah.
Hollywood agent.
Yeah.
You can't be doing stuff like this. You're
What's the bottom line?
What's your marketability these days?
You're not going to be A-list if you keep doing things like this.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're gonna be doing straight to TV movies, Chevy.
Oh boy. Anyway, I like Man in the House. So for this month, obviously we covered the Stephen King adaptation. So I thought naturally, what would be our favorite Stephen King adaptations? Or even something that we want to highlight for the listeners and viewers at home.
I feel it's gonna be easy to know.
Probably. Yeah, I have mine.
You want to go first? Because I feel like mine's pretty.
Sure. This is kind of undersung at this point, The Dead Zone, which ended up becoming a TV show as well, but it's one of my favorite Christopher Walken things. I think
Absolutely.
it might be the first Stephen King movie I ever saw,
Ooh.
which is not good for a child to see.
Oh, it's disturbing.
Yeah, I still get
Remember
freaked out
that.
by knives. So, or
Oh, I
scissors.
did.
It was scissors.
It was scissors, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't gonna surprise anybody, but The Shining
Mm.
is fantastic.
Sure.
Even though
The
Kubrick,
Shining.
Kubrick takes liberties with the book, which I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I should ask, which one do you like more?
No.
Jack or Steve?
Yeah, no.
Well, The Shining is my favorite Christmas movie now.
Mhm.
It's a Christmas movie. I don't
Sure.
care what anybody says.
As much as I love Steven Weber,
You're one of them. Yeah, I still like both adaptations, but it's because I saw the TV one first.
oh,
So
okay.
it
Well,
only went up from there.
that one's a lot closer to the book. And
Mhm.
honestly, everything I've heard about how they changed it for the book, it sounds like Kubrick adapted it better.
I
'Cause
agree with that. And I
That
also
doesn't
think
look terrible.
they both do different things enough that they feel like you can enjoy both for what they are.
Sure, they're totally different.
Like you can say that Kubrick's is on a level well above the TV one, but you can still appreciate Weber's performance and what's changed.
Sure.
And understand it's made on a TV budget.
I,
So you can forgive it some things.
And I also understand the major criticism that Stephen King had, which is Jack Nicholson already looks crazy.
Right.
It's not that much of a it's not
Right.
that much of an arc.
Right. By the time Weber's gone, you can appreciate his arc.
I'm gonna go with Carrie. I was gonna go with Shawshank, but I feel like that's
What Jimmy
an
just
easy-
said.
It's an easy grab.
Were you listening?
Yeah, come on.
Yes.
Come on, man.
Oh,
Uh,
Jimmy.
Carrie is the only one that I know of that's been successfully turned into a musical, other than Dolores. But
That's true. Though they will say that it was a bomb.
yes, well,
You say success. Broadway says bomb.
no. It was
Oh.
successfully turned into a musical, but the musical was not a success.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going by the producer's rules, huh?
You're forgetting about Cujo. That's the
It's
one
not
we're
Cujo.
making.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. Or the Langoliers. Audience participation.
That might be one of the worst.
Yeah, I think that's a good list the four of us came up with.
Yeah. Really
Um,
got Jimmy's.
yeah, I'm really happy that he chose that. That was a surprise.
Mhm.
I just want Jeff to laugh.
Very, very surprised.
Yeah. So next month, I am very excited about this one. This is a film that since we started this podcast, I was sort of hoping would get
Oh.
picked. Oh, what? Did you see another one that you want to pick?
I did. But that's
Okay, well, I can re-edit back
fine.
in. What do you
It's
want to say?
fine. No,
Well,
no,
let's
forget
talk
it.
about it. There are a lot of Stephen King adaptations.
Stand by Me.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that I watched you weep to.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I left out the part where I was weeping as well. So it's okay.
That's the one. Yeah. Well,
We bonded over Stand By Me.
everybody's the villain in your own stories. So
Yeah. Stand By Me is a great one. That's the real run from the late 80s, early 90s. He's doing a lot of dramatic stories. So they're not quite just Cujo and Carrie. Have you, before I talk about what the next month's thing is again, Have you ever seen The Stand?
No.
I've always been curious about that because that came out around 94, right?
I
Yeah,
have not.
Hmm.
I've
You've seen it?
I haven't
Is
seen
it-
the new version.
Sure. Is it as vaunted as everyone says?
No, there's still a lot of stuff like I know like he writes very like tumescent books, like volumes upon volumes.
Yeah.
There's stuff that could have been
Where
cut.
is that? I have one off to my left, but I can't find it. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's like 500 pages.
I still feel like it could have been streamlined a bit. It's really good, but there's stuff that's filler.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's on a TV budget, so again, you gotta forgive
Like
the
Shining too, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, next month, we're getting to a movie that I've been looking forward to this entire time because I wasn't sure if you guys would agree to it. Cory and I always pick at the beginning of the year and everything, so I'm glad you let me do my Tristan's pick on this one. John Leguizamo was going through the 90s as a bit of a character actor, but I caught this on TMC late, like the following year, one night, and it's definitely an underrated movie. I was glancing at the box office ahead of time when I was looking up Dolores Claiborne's. This movie got like less than $500,000 at the box office. So this is a true hidden gem. Barely came out, but I like it a lot. I want to see how it's aged because it has been about 30 years since I've seen it. So, a pyromaniac's love story. It's a romantic comedy. William Baldwin is in it as well. I would argue that this is his best thing, but he's barely had a shining career outside of like Backdraft, right? Is that him or is that Steven?
No, it was
Backdraft. Yeah, so like it's this in Backdraft, in my opinion. And it introduced me to a woman who I thought was going to have a much bigger career, Sadie Frost, which led me to my favorite actor, Jude Law, who at the time was her husband. I thought the two of them were going to take over the world,
well.
but we'll see how she is in this.
Nanny had other ideas.
Yeah. Well, he had other ideas, I think. We can lay all that on Jude.
Yeah.
But I think she's a bit of a manic pixie dream girl before that term was coined. Yeah, I'm excited for you to see this. And hopefully this lives up much better than a Mrs. Winterborn. So I'm looking forward to April 95 with episode 69.
Hello.
Nice.
All right, see you next week. I'm running from my past. That's what I'm doing. I miss him. I miss his little face.